So now we're gonna have our, I just call it Apache server, the YAML. Okay. So we try to use every single section of the template, and we're gonna start with section number 1, which is section number 1 is the format version. Format version. This is a more formal template. So we say AWS template format version. And even though it says 2010 September 9 is the latest version. Okay, even though it says that, it's the latest version. Okay. By default, it recognizes it. You don't have to do it, but we're just doing this more formally, right? Section number 2 is going to be the description section. Okay. And this is the way that you describe something. You just type the description name, right? And then we do a greater than, and that's only one. And then we type whatever we want here. So we can leave a space and say, this template creates an EC2 instance with parameters and outputs. Output values like the instance ID, public and private IDs, security group. That's it. That's the description section. Okay. Right. So this makes this this possible. It's like you are enclosing this in quotations. This symbol here, greater than and dash. Right. Now the third section that we're going to use is the parameter sections. Parameters section, right? And here, well, like the section says, parameters. That's going to be the first line, the name of the section. Okay, so we're going to have the key name again. Key name. And the key name has a type. Right? Key name is just the name of the logical ID. AWS, EC2, key pair, and then key name. That's the type. Now we're going to have another element here. We say constraint description. Right? Must be the name of an existing EC2 key pair. Right? Now we're going to have another parameter, and then it's the instance type. So just in case, guys, you want to select more than one, right? The type is going to be a string. The default is going to be, just in case you forget to select one or you select the wrong one, the T2 dot micro, it's already there, right? And now we have something called allowed values, right? And that is a string. string, but it's a different string because every single element has a dash in front of it. Okay, so I'm going to put a list of a list of instances, as you can see here, and I'm going to paste them, right? So I'm going to put this guy here. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to paste him on Slack. Right. You can copy from there and then just indent it correctly here. So you're going to be prompted with this, list of instances types, and then you choose the one that you want. But if you don't want you to choose any, because by default T2.micro is the default one. Okay. So that's a parameter, one parameter. I continue now with the parameters here. Okay. So the next parameter, and I want to type here constraint, right? Constraint for this particular one, constraint description, right? Here at the same level as allow values. So this will be this line here, this line here. And I can say here must be a valid EC2 instance type, right? My next parameter is going to be VPC ID, VPC ID. Type. Now the type is not going to be as before, like a string. The type is going to be, and of course I have to create another I have to deploy this template again, so I can use this one because I'm going to use the VPC that I use here. And that way, as I'm going to have two VPCs, it's better to say this, right? EC2 VPC ID. That would give me all the VPCs that I have, and then I have to choose one. Okay. The other way that we did it before, we put string here, and then we put a default or something like that. Now we're going to let the user choose the VPCs, right? And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and deploy the stack again, because I will need it as soon as I'm done with this one, okay? So you guys can do the same. Deploy this guy again, right? Give it a name, my network stack. Choose the key. I don't need a key, but we're going to have an instance right there. It doesn't matter, right? So now we do this, and we create a stack. So we let it create it, and we continue here. Okay. Subnet, the subnet ID. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say type, and I'm going to select the subnet that I want. EC2 subnet ID. Okay, that will prompt me with all the VPCs and all the subnet IDs that I have, and I choose the one I want. Okay. The next one, and the next one is going to be the environment type. Environment type, right? And we're going to say that this guy is a string. The default is testing, right? We say allow values. We say production, because we are creating a template for the different environments, okay? Development, testing, and quality assurance, okay? So that's going to be the environment type. The constraint description, right, must be, we must specify production, development, testing, or quality assurance. Perfect. Now, SSH location, that's going to be another parameter. And this is the, you have to enter an IP address that you want your SSH to, or you want your computer to accept. If you don't choose anything, by default, it's going to be 0.0.0.0. And we don't want that, okay? So I'm going to write my IP address so I can remember it, okay? Somewhere. And I'm going to use it when I enter the, it's like when you create the SSL location and you create a security group, the source, what is accessing my account, the internet or a specific IP address. So we are letting that open for you to enter what you want to do. If you don't do anything, it's going to take the internet by default. Okay. So we say string. The minimum length is 9. And the maximum length is 18. The default is going to be 0.0.0.0/0 if you don't choose anything. And we're going to use regex, regular expressions here. So allowed values. Actually, it's not allowed values, it's allowed pattern. Okay. And I'm going to copy and paste this. And this is basically telling me that the format of the IP address is going to be this one. Okay. The format of the IP address is going to be here, this one. Okay. I'm going to copy this on Slack. And that is the format of the IP address. Okay. Be careful with the quotations, guys. Okay. So basically we're saying here, the allow values are like this. Okay. Probably like this, up to 3 numbers. That's what it says here. Up to 3 numbers. It can be 192, right? And up to 3 numbers like this, 284, for example. Up to 3 numbers like this, up to 3 numbers. And then the slash, the / had to be 2 numbers only, right? So basically what we're saying here is like this. And then you can have this here, like this. Okay. So if you choose 10 or 0, it works the same. So you can go up to 3 numbers. If you enter something like this, it will give you an error because that's not included in the allow patterns. Okay. You guys understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're forcing the user to enter the correct IP address format. Okay. Constraint description must be a valid IP, CIDR, range of the format, x that x that x that x or slash x. Okay. Now another parameter is going to be the name tag. Okay? The name tag. And the name tag is something that we're going to use for our instances, or whatever we want to give it a name to. Okay. So the type is going to be a string. The minimum length is going to be 5. So the name has to have at least 5 characters. And it can go all the way to 30 characters. Okay. So that's the name tag. We're done with the parameters. So now we're going to see the fourth section, which is conditions. Okay, conditions. So far, so good, guys? How's it going?
Good.
Guys, is the only person following me, Nathan?
I'm here.
Watching, sir.
Yeah, but we are watching.
Okay, good. So if you watch it, don't forget to reproduce it later. Okay. So the name of the condition to reproduce it, just do it yourself.
Okay.
Okay, conditions, it's the name of the section, right? I'm going to say created production resources. So basically, guys, what we're doing is these resources would only be created if the condition is true. And the condition has to be, means that it has to be production for these resources to be created. Okay, for the resources to be created. That's the condition. So now we're going to say use a function, which is a condition function, equals, right? It's a condition function. Right? And we're going to say, well, if it equals the environment type parameters, and that is production, then the condition would be true. Okay. And right now we're going to use it later in the instance. We're going to say that only when this condition is true, then the instance will be created. Right. So that's the conditions, what the condition section is for. So we're establishing an equals here. If it equals production, the environment production, then you go ahead and create what I want to create. Okay.
So conditions
Mm-hmm.
is at the same level of indentation as parameters because it has its own subcategories? Okay.
Yes, it's a section, condition section. Right. Now we're going to have another section, which is rules. So we're going to establish some rules, right? We're going to say rules, test instance type, that's the name of the rule, right? And the rule condition is the following. So always a rule condition has something called rule condition and assertion. It has two, rule condition and assertion. So rule condition, and you will understand when I finish the rule. I'm going to say equals, okay? Equals. right? Now the reference type, reference is going to be env type, right? And that will be testing, right? Now the assertion is the following. We say assert, and we say use a condition, a function called contains. So fn, and this is a long way to use functions. You can use fn contains, or you can use exclamation point contains. There are two ways to express functions. This is the short way, and this is the long way. Okay. So I'm going to say contains, right? fn contains t1 micro, reference instance type. And then I can say assertion description, for a testing environment, the instance type must be t1.micro. So guys, what we're saying here is, if for any chance, when you have this environment type, you choose testing. The rule is you have to choose t1.micro. That is the only instance type that will be accepted if you use testing. That's what the rule is saying here. So it has to equal testing and contain t1.micro that's coming from the instance type parameter. Look at the description. The description is saying everything. For a testing environment, it's right here. If the environment equals testing, the instance type must be t1.micro. So the assert must contain t1.micro that's coming from the instance type parameter here. Okay, that is the rule. It's just like a constraint. I'm constraining this. Yes, go ahead.
Should we use T2 for the free?
Huh? T1, yeah, T1.micro is not free.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering why we're not using T2.
We're gonna use it now.
Okay.
Now we're gonna say prod.
By the way, sorry, one more. What does the double dash mean in front of T1 micro?
It's the way that is done. It's just an array, but you're specifying this guy with the micro, with the a dash.
Kind of looks like a double array or something.
Might be. So test instance type, and then we have prop instance type. Now we do the same thing now. We can do the same thing, right? And this prod is going to have the t2.micro. And then we will be able to create our instances, okay? So we say here, rule description. We do the same thing here, right? And then we say equals. And then we say same thing. So we say ref m type. And then we say production. And then we have assertions. We have assert. We have fn contains. And then we have T2 the micro. And we reference that to instance type. And the assertion constraint or session description. For a production environment, the instance must be T2.micro. And that's a message that you're going to get if you select it wrong. Okay. So now we're done with the rules section, and now we're going to have the resources section, which is section 6, right? 6? Yeah, section 6. So number 6, resources section. And this is one that we are familiar with already. Right. So right now we're going to say resources, and we're going to say type. What are we creating? A web server. So we're going to give it a name. I'm going to say demo web server, right? And the type is going to be, and you already know what the type is. It's going to be AWS EC2 instance, right? The condition, and this is where we say, well, if you select something that is not production, the resource would not be created. Okay, so we refer to the condition here. We named it here, created production resources. So we say here in conditions, this. Okay, so we put a constraint here. If this condition is not true, then this web server will not be created. So the environment type has to be production. It has to equal production, right? So that's why we have this condition here. Now, if it is equals to production, then we continue with the process. Okay? The image ID, we're gonna leave it there because the image ID, we're gonna bring it from a map. Which we create the mappings section, we're going to create the image ID, bring it from there. Okay. For now, we're going to continue with the properties. Instance type, we created a parameter right here. So we're going to copy this parameter and refer to that, right? Right. The subnet ID, we created a parameter, right? And that will be subnet ID. Where is it? Subnet ID right here, right? Perfect. Right? Now we have the key name, sorry. The key name, we created a parameter named key name, right? The security group IDs, remember that we cannot mix group name with the subnet. We had to use the security group IDs. For now, we're gonna leave it empty, and we continue. We have to create a security group as well for that, right? So now I'm gonna use the tags, and that's gonna give me the key is a name, and the value is going to be demo web server, right? Okay, and this is when it gets a little hairy, okay? We have to use the user data. Remember, the user data is the part when we we install the server in our EC2 instance. So we come here and we create an EC2 instance. right? And then we select this guy, second step. And the third step in this configuration details, we put our user data here, right? We install the Apache server, we update, we system CTL enable it, start it, and then we echo something to the index.html file, okay? So we're gonna do that in the template right here. So we can say the intrinsic function, because the functions that we use in CloudFormation are intrinsic functions, right? FN base 64, we're going to use that function, returns the base 64 representation of the input string. This function is typically used to pass encoded data to Amazon EC2 instances by way of the user data property. In other words, all the code that we're going to put here, all the code which is in Linux, is going to be passed to the EC2 instance. So basically what we're doing is exactly the same as here. So input is already base 64 encoded. So we're putting this here by using the function, this function here, base 64. So we're going to do this. FN base 64, and then we use the function sub, right? And we use a pipe, and then we can start writing here. And what we write is going to be in green, as you can see here. You see? So it's just passing that to the EC2 instance. Okay. So we're going to use what we always use. We use this guy, bin, bash, and then we say yum, y, update, and then yum, y, install, httpd, right? And httpd, we can say yum, sorry, system, same thing, system, CTL, start httpd, and system, CTL, enable httpd. And then we can say echo, and then we open HTML. Same thing, H1, we say hello from CloudFormation, from AWS CloudFormation, right? We close H1, we close HTML, and then we redirect it to var www HTML, and then we create that file, right? That's it. That's it. You see, it's the same code that we used before. The only thing is that we're doing it in CloudFormation, right? Using this function base 64, using the sub function, and using this pipe here that will pass this to the EC2 instance, right? So far, so good?
Yep.
So now I'm going to create the web server security group. So I'm going to say web server security group. Okay. So what I have to do now is simply get this guy and put it here, right? Of course, with the function ref, right? This particular guy is going to have It's going to be very similar to the other one. Okay. Difference is that we're going to say
Hey, I have a quick question about arrays.
okay, I'm going to say here, here. Okay, go ahead.
So, you know how you put the dash to start the array? You don't
Mhm.
need dashes for the stuff below it, right? You can leave them with or without the dashes, right? If there's underneath the same array.
Depends. Because for example, here, we need it. Here, we need it. Here, we need it. We need it here. It depends. There's some instances
Okay.
where you don't need them. But in the case, when you use the reference function, sometimes in the case of security groups, you don't need another one.
So if you have it when it doesn't need it, it won't do any harm. But if you don't have it when it needs it, it will break something.
Not sure about it. Never had that case.
Okay.
We will have to test it and see. Yeah. So the type is AWS EC2 security group. Okay, just like we did before. Okay. And now we have the properties of the security group. And we have group description. Okay, it's part of the property. And we can say enable SSH and HTTP via ports 22 and 80. Okay, security group ingress. So we don't have to work on the egress rules, it's only the ingress. So we say IP protocol, it's the same thing as we did before, protocol, TCP. In this case, we don't have to do it, Nathan. From port 22 to port 22. And the only difference here, CIDR, is that we're going to refer to the SSH location parameter. Because remember, we're going to enter something. If we're going to use my IP, I'm going to enter it there. Or if I don't choose anything, it's going to get this all by default. Okay, I'm using this reference. That's going to be the CIDR. Okay. In the other one, I hard-coded my IP address. In this one, I'm just letting the user to choose, right? And this one is going to have basically the same thing as the other one, but we're going to use port 80. And here we're going to say 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, perfect. I'm going to have the VPC ID. And the VPC ID, I'm going to refer to the parameter that I used here in the parameter section, VPC ID here. Okay. Whatever I choose is going to be assigned to the VPC ID, right? And then the tags for this security group, I'm going to say key is name, and the value is going to be the parameter that I created, name tag. Okay, good. I see that I didn't put any tags to. I did demo web server. Okay, perfect. So that's the security group. Done with the security group. Now we're gonna do the. This is gonna take some time. The metadata section. So the metadata section is gonna use an interface, and the interface is going to change the way that the parameters are presented to you. Before, we had the parameters with the group, the logical ID, like for Internet Gateway, IGW, CIDR, and things like that. Now it's going to ask you a question. Okay, like it's to improve the interface, to improve what you see, right? To make it more beautiful. It's an optional section. The only section that is required is the resources section, right? This is optional. All of the other sections are optional. I'm just giving you a taste of every section, so you can see that CloudFormation is not only resources. It has like 7 or 8 sections that you can use, right? Actually, we're going to use here, we're going to use 9 sections. Okay. So let us do something here. Let's say this is going to be number 7, and this is the metadata section. So we're going to use something called AWS CloudFormation interface, right? And this is a metadata key that defines how parameters are grouped and sorted in the AWS CloudFormation template or console. So basically, that's what it does. It just sorts and groups the parameters in sections. So for better visibility and more organization. Okay, so it's a metadata. And that's only one section of the metadata. Metadata can be something else as well, but we're going to use the one that is the CloudFormation interface. Right? Now we're going to group the parameters. We're going to say parameter groups, right? So we're going to group the parameters, and we're going to say label. And that's going to be the default one is going to be network configuration. So we're going to have a group of parameters named network configuration, and there we're going to put the VPC, the subnet ID, right? And that's going to be grouped like that, right? What are the parameters that I want to put there, right? That's going to be the VPC ID. That's going to be subnet ID, right? So I'm grouping the parameters by section. So the network section, network configuration, I'm going to have the VPC ID and the subnet ID in that group of parameters, right? I'm going to have another one, and that's going to be the label is going to be the default is going to be Amazon EC2 configuration, right? The parameters. What are the parameters that have to do with that? Okay, I'm going to have instance type. And I hope this is making sense to you guys, and the key name. Okay, I'm going to have another one, label, and default, right? And it's going to be environment. Remember production, testing, quality assurance, and development. Okay, environment. The parameters. What is the parameter? M type. We have another one, label, default. What is this one? SSH IP address. Right? And then what is the parameter? SSH location. right? And then we can name this one and label another one. You see, it's a lot of work here, but you're gonna see how beautiful it looks. Okay, default name tag, and then the parameters is name tag. Okay, those are the parameters that I created. Now, that is the parameter groups. I just grouped them. Now, at the same level as parameter groups, which is right here, right? I'm going to create the parameter labels. Parameters, labels, right? For the VPC ID, I'm going to say the default. And this is the question that you're going to get. I'm going to say, which VPC should this be deployed to? Right? That's for VPC. For instance type, right? Default, we say, what instance type do you want to choose? Right? For subnet ID, default, choose a subnet. You can say whatever you want. For a key name, default, you can say choose, and you can use either quotation or no quotation. So I'm going to do it both ways so you can see, guys, that it works. Okay, choose an existing EC2 key pair. That's key name. So M type, default, choose your environment. The other one is SSH location, default. Enter the IP address. Range that can SSH into the EC2 instance. Okay, perfect. We still have name tag. Type a name for your security group. And I should say here, security group name tag to make it a little more meaningful. So I'm going to come here, security group name tag. Okay. Security group name tag. And the parameter list, security group name tag. Okay, so I'm done with the metadata section. As you can see, it's a long section. Okay, these parameter groups, we are grouping every single section. Okay, every single section here, we're grouping. And guys, let me give you a taste of this guy. Let me upload it in CloudFormation so you guys can see, right? So I'm going to create another template here. And you guys can see, let's see. So we have a problem. Oh, because okay, I cannot do it now because I still don't have the image ID of the instance. So right here, it's empty. So what I'm gonna do is create the mapping section. Or maybe I can grab this image ID from here, right? And hard code it for the time being, okay? So we go back to the server and hard code it here, okay? And upload this again, okay? Invalid templates to source property, web service security group. Okay. Invalid resource. Did I forget again? Did I forget properties? Okay. Oh, supposed to be a little back. Okay, what happened? Okay. Okay.
So back one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's Shift Tab for yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about Mac.
Command opening square bracket. Okay. See now it should be fine now. So so you have a problem. Assertion assert news value in templates. Test instance type. Assertion assert rules. No values are not allowed in templates. Okay. Test type, group condition equals ref m type testing assertions assert fn contains T2 one micro reference instance type assertion. Oh, assert description. Assert description.
Are we supposed to have something for line 189 and 190 for the VCP ID, the subnet ID?
189?
189 and 190?
No, it's going to be chosen in the parameters.
Oh, I accidentally put colons after those.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it should be
Okay.
shown. The next step is going to help us with that. But we need to get to the next step. We're still getting this assertions rule test instance type. This is the test
Under
instance type
rules.
assertions. Okay, test instance type. It's the first one. Test instance type rule conditions. Condition equals ref environment testing assertion assert fn contains the micro ref instance type. Okay, assert description. Take a look at the M type. M type is default test type test string, default testing, allowed values, production, testing part, constraint, description. Okay. One moment. Okay. Same. Yeah, that is there, correct. Okay. I think we might be missing something here. Rules, instance type, assertions, 0 assert, null values are not allowed in templates. Okay, null values. What do you mean null values? Allow types, reduction, constraint, allow values. So parameters. So rules, test instance type. Rule condition, ref m type equals testing, assertions, same level, assert, contains. No values. Is there a mistyping here somewhere? Instance type. T1.micro. Testing m type equals. Okay. Ref instance type, and that's the instance type. Okay. No values. Type default, other values. Constraint description. Let me do something here. Let me do something here real quick. So I'm going to I'm going to comment this out, right? And I want to copy this. See. Let me see. Something I misspelled something somewhere, right? So when I was taking a look at this, is practically the same thing, right? So right now it's working. I misspelled something here. I don't have time for that to check that, but I have my working version here. Okay. So if you take a look at the stack, you say the parameters, you have the network configuration, and then you have the which VPC should this be deployed to, and then you have choose a subnet. I have the two VPCs here. I have all the subnets that I want here. You see the public subnet that I created, right? I can choose my key. You see, I already get the problem here because for testing, it has to be T1.micro. So I will have to choose T1.micro and the problem disappears. But if I want to choose production, I have a problem because for the production environment, the instance type might be T2.micro. So I have to choose T2.micro here. Now here, I can remove this and type my IP address if I want to. And here, I give you the name to the security group. You see how all the groupings as shown here, network configuration, Amazon EC2 configuration, environment, SSH IP address, and security group name tag. Okay, to say the parameter has a different interface. Okay, I have all the PVCs here. I have all the subnets here. And what is causing this to happen? Well, the parameter for VPC, instead of putting VPC only like this, right? If I put that, I would have to find the VPC. But if I do this, it would give me all the possible VPCs there, right? So now that you have an idea how this works, right? I'm going to go ahead and continue deploying this, okay? Right now, I'm going to create the mapping section, okay? So the mapping section, that'll be section number 8. Mappings section. And I have this, which I'm not going to type. I can copy and paste here, right? So the optional mapping section matches a key to a corresponding set of name values. For example, if you want to set values based on a region, you can create a mapping that uses the region name as a key and contains the values you want to specify for each specific region. So let's say mappings. Right. The name of the mapping is region map, right? Region map. Now we're going to say, well, for the US East, one region, and that is the key, right? That is the key, guys. This is the key, right? Then we have the name, latest AMI, right? And we can copy the one that I have here, right? And put it here, right? And I can have US East 2 latest AMI, and that will be a different one. So I can go ahead here and look for trying to launch an instance here, right? In the Ohio region. And then I can copy here that this is the latest AMI of Ohio, right? That's it. That's a mapping, right? That is a mapping. So mapping, let me take a look at that function. Function map, find a map, find a map, right? Find a map from CloudFormation. So this function has in YAML, it has the map name, the top level key, and the second level key, right? The top level key and the second level key. And what is the top level key in the template? Well, the top level key is the region map. The second level key would be this one, right? And the top level key that would be US East 1, and the second level key would be this one here. Okay, so we have the map, the top level key, and the second level key, and that would give me the value. Okay, so we have to do here an image ID. Let's look for it in the instance type, in the instance right here. We have to use the function find the map. So we say find a map, right? Find a map. And we say, well, we're going to say the name of the map, region map, the top level key, US East 1, and the second level key, latest AMI. That's it. That's it. That will bring the latest AMI of the US East 1 region, which is right here. Okay, you guys understand? You guys understand?
Yes.
Now we have section number 9, which is output, and this is the last section of all, right? The output section. Okay. And this is the output section just in case that we want to get a specific value from the resource. Maybe we want to get the instance ID, maybe we want to get to the public IP, the security group ID, all those values in the template, in the stack. So we're gonna do it now. So this is an optional section as well, and declares output values that you can import into other stacks, and that's to create cross-stack references. Return in response to describe stack calls or view in the AWS Formation console. Sometimes you want to use the VPC in another stack, right? You can import the value from the outputs, okay? So we're gonna say outputs, and we're gonna say, well, the first thing that we're gonna get is the instance ID, right? And the description is going to be instance ID, right? The value is going to refer to what? To the demo web server, right? That's it. That will give me the ID of the instance ID, right? The other one is the private IP. So I want to get, just for the sake of getting something, I want to get the private IP of the instance, okay? So description, instance, private IP, right? Now, we can use another function, which is get at, and you get the attribute of a specific instance. So the fn get add, or you can say this is the same thing, right? Returns the value of an attribute from a resource in the template. So the instance has an attribute called private IP, okay? So we can say value, and then we can say get at, right? And we can say web server, right? Web server, demo web server, dot private IP. So that will give me the private IP of that using this function. It gave me the attribute from the server, right? Now I'm gonna get the public IP.
Does your instance ID in line 244 need a lowercase d?
Does it need what?
Does it need a lowercase d in
No.
instance ID?
No.
Okay.
Not necessarily. So description. This is the instance, and we can copy this guy if we want to and just change it. Change the words, right? We can say here public, and here we can say public. Right? Right? Public IP. Maybe we want to get the security group ID. So we can say security group ID. Description. Okay, description, we could say ID of the security group, right? And value, we reference the security group. Okay. And maybe we want to get the stack VPC. Okay. The stack VPC. Right. And we can say description, the ID of the VPC, right? Value. We've referred to the VPC ID that we get from the template. And we can export, okay? We can export this to another template and say name, use the sub function, right? And say like a variable, I say, I want you to give me the stack name, AWS. These are global variables. Stack name, right? And after that, I want you to give me the VPC. VPC ID. Okay. So you're gonna export this to another template. You export like the name of the stack, which is whatever I give a name, and then dash VPC. That's gonna be the name of that, and that's it. This is the template. Long template, eh? It's a very, long template. Yeah.
Lots of typing. So what did you do with that error you had earlier
Which one?
with the rules? With the rules, remember? I
I
was
just-
grabbing a drink when you were working on it. I don't know what you
I
did.
just copied from
Okay.
my notes. It seems that I misspelled something, but I don't have time to be checking.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So I have to, I didn't see what you changed, so
I just got.
I won't be able to
yeah.
do this then.
So let me go ahead and paste this on stack.
Okay, so it's just that section of rules that needs to be copied and pasted, right?
Yeah.
Because everything else should be working.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right. Yeah, it seems that some indentation problem, something I did wrong. So I didn't have time to be checking that. Remember to change the quotation marks, right? If you copy from Slack. Right. So now that we have that, I think we're ready to deploy this. Right. It's a lot of things here, right? A lot of things. So we already deployed this first one. We already have the VPC and everything. But we need to deploy this one. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and re-upload this guy. We're gonna go back, re-upload it because now it's complete. And let's see. I hope that we don't have any problem, and we can go ahead and do that. Okay. So now I'm gonna get a value here. Okay. A value that I need for my SSH. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna call it my infrastructure template or stack, right? So what VPC do I want to deploy this in? The one that I just created, this one here, my demo VPC. Okay, choose a subnet. I want to use this public subnet. Okay, I'm gonna use production. That's why I get in this error, because for testing it's T1.micro, but for production it's T2.micro. So I'm gonna choose T2.micro here. Choose an existing key pair, right? I'm gonna copy my IP address and paste it here, right? And I'm gonna say here, demo security group. Okay, that's gonna be the tag for that. As you can see here, I have dynamic parameters, right? And parameters are good because we never know if things change, right? So I just,
So
go
is this
ahead.
from you were creating a new stack? Because we already made a stack before, right?
Yeah, but that was for networking.
So delete that one and do a new stack.
I didn't delete that one. I redeployed it again. I redeployed it, right? Because I'm gonna need the demo VPC that I created
Yeah.
with that stack, and the publisher net that I created with that stack. Okay. So hit next, next, and I can see the parameters here, all the parameters that I entered, right? Perfect, 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 perfect. And I can go ahead and see what happens. Create the stack, and I have a template error. Outstack it's malformed. The name field of every export member must be specified because this is a number. Okay, I have a problem here because I should have put this very close to it, to this. No spaces whatsoever. Okay. So, okay, have to go back and do the same thing again. Okay. And redeploy this change here. Okay, so I have this guy, and then I have to choose the same thing real quick. I have time for that. So here, and then here, and then here, production. Perfect. I choose this guy and security group, demo security group. Okay. Okay, so now next, I should have it proper now, PS stack, and there you go. It begins. Let us wait now.
Is the web server security group supposed to be indented underneath the demo web server? Like that same line? Because I'm getting unresolved resource dependencies.
I changed the name of the resource of the tag.
For which one?
This one. Is that the problem
Yeah,
you're having?
no. I already changed all those. Mine is the web server security group column on line 163.
Do we have the same line numbers?
Yeah,
Remember that I moved it.
mine's indented one over like yours.
Okay. Share the screen, please. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, see how mine's one line indented like yours? See, I'm getting the unresolved dependencies.
Oh, in the outputs, do you put the same name?
Oh,
In
look,
the output?
looks like this one's capitalized here. And this one
It's in the
wasn't right
output.
here. Well,
In
this
the
one was
output.
an
Yeah.
output.
Yeah. In
Okay,
the output,
so where's that section?
the end.
The end? Yeah, because
Yeah.
I saw right here, this is capital S, but up above, I just changed this. I forgot to capitalize this S
Okay.
right here. So
Yeah.
that might be the reason right there.
Yeah. Save it now. Let's see.
Template format error now.
I got an error. It says that the AMI doesn't exist.
What, the AMI down here that we used? The latest?
Mm-hmm.
Weird. I use the same ones as you. But something's going on with my template though. I mean, I don't know. It's the same section. Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Let me do Control F.
Oh, I
Web
know what
server.
the problem is. You have to change it in the instance too,
Right
because
here.
you use it in
Yeah.
the instance.
So this has to be capital S. Now it should work because I was referring to the lowercase s, I think. Let's see if that works. There we go. It was a stupid lowercase s right here.
Yeah.
How do you Control F it and find it? So then this is the stuff where you put in the ID.
Correct. Correct.
So to use this, then use this, right?
Yeah.
This would be T1 micro, like we said, I think.
T2.micro, but you have to choose production.
Production.
Yeah, in the environment type.
Oh, here. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Because down
rule.
here,
The rule.
the
Yeah,
rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one right here, because you need production. This one right here, right?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And I think I got rid of my IP address, but okay. I'm on the same page as you then.
It's telling me that the
You can go ahead and share your screen again.
it's telling me that my AMI is incorrect, is invalid. Okay. So region map. I'm getting this from the region map. This is my region map. Find the map. Okay. So the mapping contains the last. All right, let me take a look.
Does it have to do with the x86? Because there's two different AMIs, one for 64-bit ARM and one for the 64-bit x86. You have two
Yeah.
different AMIs.
Yeah, because one is Ohio and the other one is North Virginia.
No. Look, go back. Look, you see, there's two different AMIs, one for x86 and one for the 64-bit ARM.
Where?
No, go back to go back to
Oh,
AWS.
I forgot to put the 9.
Oh,
I forgot
okay,
a number
okay.
9 before. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and deploy it again. It's a stupid number. If you forget that number, it's wrong, right? So I'm gonna
That's
go ahead.
program. Everything breaks.
Yeah. So could you deploy yours?
I didn't finish. I was still watching you.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and create another one. Okay. So it says networks. I think I deleted this guy. No? Yeah, that's the guy that I created with the, yeah. So I'm gonna upload this again and let's see what happens now. Should have everything that I need around demo, publish net, this one, production, the IP address, and web server, demo, web, security group. Okay. Okay. Good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and deploy this. My infrastructure stack.
Output stack VPC is malformed. I got rid of the spaces down there like you did.
Let's take a look at yours now. So right now, I can go ahead and create a stack. Let's see what happens now.
So you're making it now?
Yeah. We already created the web security group. Is now creating the demo web servers. Let's see. It actually created 2 resources. It's creating the web server and the security group. That's it. It's not creating anything else. Right? So it shouldn't take that long. Right? So resources we have here, the security group hasn't been recreated, and the outputs, we don't have anything yet. It hasn't reached the output section yet. So we have to wait. We can see the template here, the template that we uploaded. Right?
Nice. We go to the very end. So I can see the very bottom, the last line. Sub. Oh, you have a $sign there.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought I saw an S. Let me try.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out why you have an S there. That's why I got an error. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
let's
it's
try
a
zoom.
it's a global variable.
Yeah, I think you just had a typo because I typed the same thing and didn't change it.
As you can see, the stack is complete. You see, the stack is complete. So we can take a look at the instances. And we have our instance running right now. This is our demo web server. It's running. Security group. Right now, we have the demo web security group. It's right here. Right, this is the one that we created. And we can take a look at the outputs. And these are the outputs. So we have the instance IDs right here. The private IP is here. The public IP is here. Security group is here. And the stack VPC is here. You see the outputs? Very good. So now we can get the public IP. And let's see if we get something here. We don't get anything. Maybe later. Okay. Okay. So we can SSH into the instance and see what's going on. So we say SSH and then we SSH into the, right? And see yes. And we can say now, okay, sudo -i and take a look at the var guy. Okay. So cd into var www HTML and their guy is there. So we do nano or maybe cat index.html and it has the, okay, the metadata was there and the HTTP, we take a look at system CTL status HTTP inactive. Did I not enable it? Oh, now it's running. Okay, something is wrong with the metadata here, with the user data. Okay. Okay. So right now, if I refresh this, I see hello from AWS CloudFormation. So something is not quite right with this here. Right. System CTL. I don't understand why. But it worked. It worked. Now we can see here that everything is fine, right? The CloudFormation template worked. Okay. We could troubleshoot the Apache server was not working. Now we have all the resources that were created here. The events, we see everything that was created here, and the stack information is right here, right? Okay. Any questions? So you see, you guys have a better idea of how CloudFormation works.